Hello, Raphaël.
Hello.
So you wrote a really interesting book about the future of work. Yeah. So my first question will be, what type of jobs AI will replace in a short term and a long term?
I think what we have a hard time to understand, it is that it's not a question of some kind of job will be replaced, other kind of job will be not replaced, etc., etc. It is the fact that the new jobs that are created are different qualitatively and that all jobs will be touched. But in what we call a job today, there is a part that will be replaced, the kind of activity that will be replaced, and the kind of activity that will not be replaced. So that's the reason why it's the entire system that is changing.
But at a global scale, will the unemployment rate will change, will increase? What do you think about that?
Of course. I think on a global scale, as you said, generally speaking, when we are inside our statistical categories, traditional statistical categories, we see that the number of jobs available as it is now will, of course, decrease. That's the reason why we have to find solutions for that.
But some people say that there will be new jobs, a lot of new jobs. It's a theory of Schumpeter. Why this time would it be different?
It doesn't work anymore because before what happened, when there was only, I distinguish automatization and robotization. And usually people, they say automatization is just like robotization. That's not the same at all. When it was only an increase of automatization, that was fine because there was a certain part of certain kind of job, specific job that will be maintenance or a very automatic job, I will say, like traditional labor workers. And those jobs could be replaced by machines, but we needed engineers, for instance, to do the maintenance of those machines that will do the job, at the place of others. But that doesn't work the same way today. That doesn't work the same way today because we have another. Well, maybe we will need to ask another question.
No. Why does it not work today?
It doesn't work because the kind of job that are actually created, they are not job. What I mean, it's not that they are not job. They are not. You can't make them enter in the category of employment because what is employment? Employment, before being the force of work itself, it's a contract. It's a specific contract. It's the idea that you need to work a certain time a week in a certain place. That's the reason why you can say, oh, there is a number. At one moment, when we wanted to solve what we see as a problem, we said, we just have to reduce the time of work. But in order to reduce the time of work, you need to have a stability of the space of work. Meaning, you have to say, somebody will come at a certain place, how long will he stay at this place? And after he will go out, we know he left at this time, he has worked like, let's say, 6 hours a day, and we say, okay, it's 30 hours a week, etc., etc., and we can share work, reducing that. But that doesn't work anymore, because the new jobs that are created, they are jobs that are not stabilized, that don't have a stabilized space. For instance, people, they can have this activity in their car, on their iPhone, everywhere, and so they don't have a specific place where you can say, do you work or you don't work? That's the reason why, in fact, even psychologically, people are not used to that yet, and that's the reason why they have some kind of these nervous breakdown and all those things that we said are the burnout and all these kind of things. It's because, in fact, we work less than before, because in the 19th century, people, they were working like mad. So it's not true that we work more. But we work differently, and we're not used to, because it creates some kind of a nervous problem, because you work everywhere at any time. You don't have a specific space. And so those new activities are those activities, and they can't enter in what we used to call employment. That's the reason why we have to change the employment contract, is what I propose in my book.
Generalization of AI and robots could be a really good news for human people, because we don't have to work anymore, so it could be really great. But, so what is the problem?
But the fact is that there is something really strange when we talk about artificial intelligence. Maybe the word intelligence is not well, perceived, and maybe we'll find another word, I don't know. But when they think about that, people think that the robots will steal their job. But we have to understand that in every job, when we are talking about job, there is a part that we don't like to do. But it has always been like that, you know. And there is a part that defines what we want to be, not only what we want to do. That's the reason why we assimilate ourselves. It's the identity part. And it constructs a complete job, what we call a job. And you know, even in English, for instance, I take the English language, but in other language, you also have, and in English, 2 words to talk about work. For instance, in English, you have labor, and labor comes, the definition of labor, it comes from the fact something that you can't avoid because you have to survive. You are like, it's labor. You know, it means from the word, it means like you are like an animal working on the ground. It's what means labor. You know, like. And you have the other part that is work in English. And work means you are creating something out of yourself, something you are proud of, and something what you are really doing. So throughout history, the first part was very important in the Paleolithic time. In the Neolithic time, it was less important because there was the beginning of technology. And now it's really reduced. And we feel it's bad because we feel like if the entire thing was disappearing. But in fact, it's not true. It looks like it is disappearing, but it's not. But we have to change the system because it's true. It's not enough to implement the traditional labor contract we have.
Maybe we have to change the system also because we need to give money to people who don't have real work anymore. Is there an economic reason why we should change the system too?
I think, in fact, everybody talks about artificial intelligence, robot, and you have all those people are talking about transhumanism and all that, and it looks like if it was like, there are incredible change on one side, and on the other side, it's really weird because it's like if people didn't realize how deep the change is. So on one side, it looks like, oh yes, that's a big change, and they don't believe it on another side when it comes to real measure. Well, I think it's really deep what is actually happening. It's almost like, not even almost, it's like the same level that coming from Paleolithic time to Neolithic time. I think it is a real change because sometimes when people say, yes, but you will always have jobs, complete jobs that will be done by human beings. I'm not sure about that. For instance, they are talking about when you have to follow old people and you have to be empathic. I don't think so. I think now you have a tendency in artificial intelligence with facial recognition and all these kind of things to be able to build some kind of robot that will be adapted to human subjectivity, and maybe they will be better than human beings because at least they will not be bored, because they will not be programmed to be bored. So maybe they will be even better. So now we are thinking, oh, it's monstrous. No, why will it be monstrous? So what can we do? What can we do? Some people are talking about taxing robots. I don't agree with that. I think it's not robot that we have to tax because it will become very complex because we will have a diversification of what we call a robot, and you will say, oh, those one we tax them, but those one they are not really completely robots, so we don't tax them. It's too complex. So what I propose, on a tax point of view, it's just to have one tax that will be a tax on the capital. Robots are part of the capital, actually. And if we have a tax, a progressive tax on the capital, I think it's interesting because that means that the value that is created and the value that is created that is not actually distributed through salaries because what we were just describing will be used with this capital tax, will be used to finance basic income. This basic income that will prevent people from having to fight to survive and even to live in comfort. This basic income will be the basis of not what we call now full employment, because there will not be, but full activity to do different things at different moments. That's the reason why if you have a basic income, and that's the problem that we have during the French election, they were talking about basic income, but in the same time maintaining the labor contract the same way it was. You can't have a labor contract the way it was, because you have to free human energy, but to free human energy, you have to have people that don't have to fight for these two, first level, what I call the desire to survive, the desire to live, but you have to have labor rights that will come back to what is human rights, to be part of human rights, like civil rights. So you can have missions when you will do this thing in the beginning of the week, something else next month, in the middle you will do something else. And so the relationship you will have between the boss and the employee will not be the same. And the labor laws, they were made to protect the employee because he was weaker. But now that we have new way even to build a company without as much money as we used to have before, the relationship with the guy that is the boss is different with the employee because the distance is getting thinner, and so the negotiation even for the income is different. So we also have to, I think, we also have to abolish the moment where someone is supposed to be retired. I think we have to stop about this thing that at a certain moment people can't work anymore because the progress of medicine, and it's not true.
I understand your solutions, so basic income, universal basic income, and tax on capital.
But in the same time, I think we can't continue with the tax on the revenue, because most people that are talking about the tax on the capital, progressive tax on capital, they say they want that, like Piketty, for instance, but plus tax on the revenue. And I think it's not compatible. It's the same thing with basic income, with labor rights. It's not compatible. I'm not thinking on a social point of view, or I'm just thinking about an entire change of the system.
Your solutions are, I understand why it is pertinent for the jobs, but isn't it unrealistic in the world right now? Because it's a global economy. If France set up a basic universal income, it's complicated with the competition with the other countries. So do you think it's realistic to set up a global basic income right now?
I think the thing with the basic income, people don't really understand what it is. They think basic income will make people lazy, they will not do anything, etc. It's not true. People that say that, they don't understand what are human beings. Human beings are obsessed by distinguishing themselves from others. That's the very basis of what are human beings. And so they are narrative beings that are always talking about what they are doing, while they are doing it, after they are doing it. They are doing that with their jobs. They are doing that with sex. Sex with human beings, it's more talking about it, what you have done, and showing off, etc., etc., etc. As long as you are maintaining the possibility of distinction at a certain level, you will not have laziness. Now we are in a society that is lazy. Why? It's not laziness, it's depression. Depression is when you feel that you get money for nothing because you are supposed to be out of the system, you don't have a job, and people say you're not useful, etc. You want to use the system. You feel even when you are using the system, you get the money, and you don't care about it, you feel humiliated anyway, and so you are what we can call lazy. But if you have a basic income that is giving to everybody, at the same time, you will have a new way of a new competition. Let's take an example. If you have 5 brothers that are born in a very rich, wealthy, in a very wealthy family, those people, you think they will become lazy? They will not be lazy. They will not have to fight to survive even for comfort, but they will survive for the third level, what I call in my book, the third level, the desire to be, meaning to be different, to be more than the other one. And so they will even compete more. So in fact, doing that will make a society where people will work much more than in the society we are now. And so they will create more wealth than in the society we are now.
Okay, I have the same question about the tax on the capital. A tax on the capital. If French firms have tax on the capital, with Germany, with the USA.
With this question, this time you're right. It is a real problem. I think it's a real problem on a global economy, the tax on capital, more than the basic income, in fact. It's a real problem. And because it's the tax on capital that finances the basic income, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I think it's a problem in space. What is the scale we are going to do it? And it's a problem in time. Can we do it now? I think we can't do it right now, because first, we have to change people's idea. Because now people are not ready. It comes back to your first question, what I haven't answered, actually. Partly answered, but not completely. It's now, having a job is becoming more a question of identity than what you actually do. So people are not ready. They feel people are stealing their identity. So we have to educate people in school to tell them it's not the same. We are not going to aim, politics has to explain people, politicians have to explain people to school, to what they do in debate and all that. We are not going to have this ideal anymore of full employment. That's just not desirable even. But full activity, and it's very different. You have to change your mind, etc. So that's the first thing. The second thing when you have educated people, it's the problem of the global economy. So I propose to have what I call the transitional tax. That will be a indirect tax, TVA. I don't know how you say that, VAT or something, value added tax. Yeah. In my system, there is also indirect tax for maintaining the social system, because people will consume, but they will not receive a salary on a regular basis the way it was when they had a contract. And also an ecology tax to make some products that are not viable today, that will cost more but are important for society, to make them less expensive. And on the other way, when we decide politically, in all of them, democratically, all of us democratically, that something is not good for society, like smoking and all that, we will use the money we have, we take some money to make it less, how can I say, bankable. But I propose another tax that we'll call a transitional tax. This transitional tax will be a tax where we will see that some companies, they want to escape the tax on the capital. So, because you understood that my idea is that we don't have to forget that people are desire. It's what Karl Marx forgot about. So he talked about a society without class, but it's not possible because people want to classify themselves and classify others to distinguish, etc. So we have to maintain that. So the idea is to negotiate the rate of this transitional tax, to say companies that want to escape, we tax them just at the level where they will lose money. They will lose money if they try to escape the tax on the capital. That's the question of the transition. So by the time we negotiate that, at one moment they will say, okay, that's much better that we pay the tax on the capital because we will earn more if our products are taxed with this indirect, tax. But this is possible only if we do it on that's the reason why I say it's not only a question of time, it's also a question of impact economy. If we do it on an economy that is big enough, on an economic space that is big enough, to make this economy unavoidable for this international company. And I think there are only two economies now that could do that. It's North America, the United States, and I don't think they are ready politically now, and European Union.
Okay, so it's possible to change the system?
It's completely possible to change the system. Not only it's possible, it's necessary to change the system.
Okay, thank you, Raphaël.